Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Oh yeah, everybody. Welcome to another edition of, I was about to do it, A and B podcast. I was about to call it Guys Beer Sports. I don't know why. You want to know why?
Because I'm here.
That's exactly it. I got, first off, the proverbial mouth of Massachusetts, the man with the golden tongue, the man that can, with a plan, okay? He can put it all together. And I am proud to call him my good friend, Reid Homer, here on the show with me. This is awesome.
Hey.
Dude, it's been too long. It's been too long.
I know. I was like, what the fuck show am I on right now? A and B, what is this?
Minus the B, too. Because Brad decided that he had to go to LA today. Well, this week, you know.
So, he's like when you're as good looking as Brad, you know, you get calls like that where it's like, Brad, we need you down here. You know, it's like Jennifer Lawrence doesn't have a date tonight, and he's just like, oh, all right, I'll show up, I guess. He's got some new stupid movie out. I'll be the arm candy.
Just walking around.
Yeah.
He's walking around arm candy. Bro, man, it's so good to see you. You have no idea. Every time that you're on, I have fun. I have a great time. Sometimes at my expense, I understand, but still.
Yeah. Who has more fun than us?
Nobody.
Especially with that fucking shirt on.
Oh, dude.
God.
This is as tame as it can get, man. This is whipping good.
Let me throw out some Maui gyms so I can vibe with you.
Oh, there we go.
We look like a couple of parrot heads now. Sometimes the Jimmy Buffett concert on.
Oh man, yeah, coming around, man. Oh, speaking of such, dude. Okay, I know you mentioned on Facebook, and I just wanted to bring it out there. I did not invite you on because your team was knocked out of the playoffs.
Teams,
but
okay. Hold on a second, just for context, because nobody's going to know what the conversation was. The day after, hours after the Celtics get knocked out of the playoffs, he's like, "Oh, Reid, it'd be great. We can have you on. Oh, we gotta have it." No, you didn't say it to me. You put it in A and B group. He said, "Oh, we gotta have Reid on." What the fuck are you talking about? Of course, it's because my team's out. Are you nuts? Yeah, I don't hear from you, and then it's just like, "Reid, we gotta catch up," and it's like, "Oh, the Bruins just got knocked out." No, not happening. And then you put it public. Oh, we gotta have you on. Oh, we gotta have you on forever. Oh, I gotta see my buddy Reid. I wonder why that could possibly be. So let's have it. Let's hear it.
All right.
Let's start with the Bruins. Come on.
So first off, isn't it amazing how much parity there was, like within both leagues? That
very refreshing to see it in the NBA of all places,
right? Yeah. So
I didn't see that coming.
So much. No, I don't think anybody saw that coming. So much parity. And it mimicked itself, although in two different rounds, with Boston, the Bruins getting eliminated by a Florida team in the first round going 7. When you make the most historic run in all of NHL history, and then the conference finals with the Miami Heat picking out Boston. I mean, here's the thing. The Celtics in 7 in Boston. I don't think anybody saw that coming. I think you have...
And it wasn't close.
No, that game 7 was a blowout. And I think you have Giannis Antetokounmpo sitting there going, I told you they were good.
Yeah, that's probably exactly what he said and exactly how he said it.
Like I honestly believe
only a guy as brown as you with a shirt that loud could pull off doing that impersonation.
I'm just saying, man. He's there, and I'm sure he's happy that Jimmy Butler is doing his Jimmy Butler thing. But now you go up against Denver. I don't know. I think that's a whole different.
Yeah, that's gonna be a problem. But it's all right. So, what was your take on the Bruins situation? Like, what went wrong, right? And now, and again, pretend Florida didn't just do what they did to Carolina, another very good team.
This is the biggest thing is that Bobrovsky. I mean, first off, Florida is playing playoff hockey since January. Secondly, Bobrovsky injured off. So you had who was it? It wasn't Spencer Knight. It was that other guy there that they had in net. I forget his name. That's how forgettable he is right now because you worked your butt off to get you to the playoffs, but
Oh, Leon.
yeah.
Yeah.
So him. So then Boston, who I thought, okay, there's something here because you don't win that many games like that. But the thing is that I'm there going, Swayman and Allmark are not. They're not the goaltenders. And the thing is that you kind of saw that mental breakdown with a couple of giveaways that Allmark left.
Yep.
And I was there like, as soon as they made the switch to Bobrovsky, I don't know what clicked on that guy's head, man. Something clicked on because he's been lights out. Like,
Florida's been winning close. That whole Panthers Kane series. Those were all 1-goal games.
Oh, 1-goal games. Some of them went to overtime. Unbelievable. Yeah. Or scored in the last few seconds before overtime. It's crazy. And the Leafs, I mean, Bobrovsky got in all their heads. And let's face it, the Leafs are not mentally tough. They are not mentally tough. So Bobrovsky just has to steal one game, then he's stealing the series. And that's exactly what happened. He stole that one game. And you saw what was it, Morgan Riley cheering for that one goal that's just like, man, I really wanted it to count, but there's no way you could say. And it's like, here you are going, this guy is in their heads, man. And he was in their heads in Carolina. And I'm sure in Boston, they must be sitting there going, like, what's going on? This goaltender. What the heck?
Yeah, and again, we had a lead going in that series, right? And it's just like, you just look over there, and none of those guys on that team.
It was 3-1. It was 3-1. Yeah. It was like, this is over.
You were just looking at a situation where those guys, they didn't seem like they were concerned. Like, that's the scary thing is, you just look across the ice and you just see a team that's just like, yeah, we're going to continue playing our game no matter what. Which is the biggest problem that Florida's had, pretty much their entire existence, has been coaching. I think, right? Because they've always had like a really good team, or they've always had like a core group of really good players. What we saw this season, though, especially in this postseason here, is the coaching is clearly night and day compared to what they've had in the past, right?
Paul Maurice, man. Paul Maurice.
You saw like under there was the Gerard Gallant, team. He was a great coach, but there was so much infighting, so many problems. But Paul Maurice is in there. He's just like laying down the law. It's absolutely fantastic to see.
I think
none of those guys are shook.
People forget that he was Carolina's coach, I think, when the Cup, right? So I mean, he's got Cup experience, he's got that pedigree.
He coached a guy like Rod Brindamore, who was a fucking coach himself. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, he's, even when he was playing, he was just one of those, like, he was like everybody's dad. He had like real cut the crap energy.
What was the feeling of Boston, though? I mean, you guys had that historic run, and did you guys feel going into it like we got this locked down? Or
no? Because again, I don't. What I like is I like a big slide leading into the playoffs, right? Like, I like a big juicy slide going into the playoffs where your team's on a skid. No, there's no traction. There's a lot of turmoil, right? And then it allows the team to kind of rally around something. It gives the coach a lot of things, a lot of talking points, right? But if you're winning games, and we did go on a little bit of a slide towards the end of the season, but the problem is, I think it started just at the very end of the season, and then it kind of just carried through into that first round where you're just like, But a lot of the people around here, we have the dumbest fans in the United States of America. And that it's not their fault. They're so used to fucking Titletown energy, right? And everything was going great with the Celtics and the Bruins that everyone's just like, fuck it. It's like Russia going into Ukraine, like, this will be a fucking cakewalk. Here we are in fucking year 2, though. It's like, what the hell happened? Everything was going great. It's just like, you can't look past anybody, and certainly not a spunky team like the Florida Panthers.
Yeah.
You just can't look past teams, and that's the NHL for you. And the NBA now, apparently, because
I mean, Jimmy Butler.
We got bit twice in Boston here.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. And it's the first time I think that you had 2 teams from the same city go into the finals at the same time. Like, it's unbelievable for that. We also
had used to that shit here.
Yeah, we also had almost clean sweeps all throughout the conference finals. Like, it was just amazing how it was like just a mirror image, it seemed like, and then things fell apart there. But honestly, I thought the Celtics were going to pull it through. to bring it to Game 7. I'm like, what is this reverse sweep? And then just to show up the way they did in Game 7 was just, oh. I mean, I
and listen, there's the conversation about people being hurt and all that other crap, but with the Celtics, right? But being a Bruins fan, being a Boston fan, you have a guy like Patrice Bergeron who every year punctured lung, fractured rib, a hairline fracture in his tibia, that kind of shit that he's playing through the postseason with. And you don't hear about until we win a cup or we get knocked out, and it's you wouldn't have known that he was dealing with that kind of sick injuries. So it's like shame on them.
That guy in Minnesota playing on a broken leg.
Yeah. But I mean that's what you're supposed to see though, because like you're talking about guys getting paid millions of dollars to play a game.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, I'll deal with this pain now for a lifetime of glory. People will be singing my song, and again, win or lose, they're going to be singing that song for a long time, because that's a crazy ass story. I still remember situations like Rich Peverley in Dallas where he had a heart attack on the bench, and they resuscitated him and stuff like that. He's just like, all right, I got to get back in there. He's just like, what are you talking? Like, that's what sports is about. Is dealing with these injuries. And in Boston, they're just like, oh, Brown, Tatum, they were dealing with this, that, and the other thing, and it's just so. Get out there and fucking play. You don't have to look back not 20 years to see the NBA was a very rugged, brutal.
It's not the same. Yeah, it's not the same product anymore. Yeah, like you don't have, like, when you think about it, for Jordan to win those championships against that Piston team, to have to go up against them. I mean, they were vicious.
Yeah.
And now you have the benefit of everything. Like, I mean, basically, if you're a name, you're probably going to get the foul. Like LeBron there against the Nuggets there, that last second when he's trying to go up for the two, and he really was trying to sell job against Jamal Murray, little Jamal Murray block. Yeah. Like, it's like, dude, like, no, this is stale and old.
Yeah, and again, I'm not gonna hate any individual for doing that, because that's what the sport's become.
Absolutely.
It's like soccer. It's like
if you're right. Soccer, if you reward it, why not do it? Yeah.
If you're the best at the game, you're going to play the game as it's designed to be played. He's operating within a system. This is how the system works right now.
That's it.
Again, it's just like soccer. Like I don't sit there and I don't shit talk soccer because of the intentional getting fouled and yucking it up, because they reward that there. So stop rewarding it. And then if that guy continues to do that, it's just not going to be fruitful, right? It would just hurt his team. But that's the NBA for you. Yeah, I'm turning into a grumpy old man about something like, I grew up watching old Pistol Pete Maravich highlights. What is this?
Is it amazing to see Jokic, the season he had, and what he's doing right now in these playoffs? Like, I don't think there's any team that can go up against this version of the Nuggets. Like,
no, and like this is one of those things where, for all of the NBA's faults, you can watch a Nuggets team like that, where they are tough, they are gritty, they are exceptional in every in every category possible, and it doesn't matter what generation you put a team like that in. You could ship them back to the 80s, 70s, and they're gonna do what they do. Yeah, it really is a lot of fun to watch, and it's. Yeah, I don't know what the longevity is for a situation like that beyond the season. How long can they maintain that level? We saw Golden State do it for a very long time.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. So is Denver now the team universally?
I mean, I think if you keep Jokic to what he's doing, I mean, another triple-double he had yesterday. It's like he's on a historic run, and then Jamal Murray had 27 along with him. So Bam. I have a hard time saying his name. Bam Adebayo. I have a hard time saying his name, man. But he had 27, and then Jimmy Butler was like kept down with I think 13 or 14 points. Yeah. So, I mean, when you have one guy that goes off, it's a little bit easier to block it off. Because let's face it, what's Kyle Lowry going to do here in this situation? It's like,
no, if you can have one guy produce a margin of error for you, that is that vast. it just takes a load off of everybody else, and that's what you're seeing with Jokic. There is like
It's unbelievable.
he's giving everybody a nice long leash to do whatever the hell they want to do and be themselves and play their games, and that's why you get a guy like that.
Yeah, and I think everybody knew going into this that it's probably not Golden State. It's probably Denver's to lose because Miami's playing with like house money, just the same as the Florida Panthers. That this is Vegas's Stanley Cup to lose. Because again, Florida is playing with house money. They weren't even supposed to be in this. And, you know.
So I mean, like I think Florida, looking at their team, I think they actually probably point for point probably have the better team. So I look at it a little different. Like, again, Vegas was killing it all season with especially under Bruce Cassidy there. That was weird situation for us where we're like, why would you fire this guy, Bruce Cassidy? He's not doing anything wrong. And then Neely and co look like geniuses because Jim Montgomery comes in here. We go on this historic run. But Bruce Cassidy was doing it out there in Vegas in a new team. You know, Vegas had a fucking insane season as well. Absolutely insane season.
Yeah, they're number one in the West. Yeah.
Not what the Bruins were doing, but it was wild. So,
but let's face it. I think Vegas had how many different goaltenders going into it? It was like, it was
the amount of times they're running Jonathan Quick out there. Jonathan Quick is old for a goaltender in the NHL right now. He's a geese, like it's crazy. And he was able to just get out there, and they have 6 very good defensemen, and it didn't really matter. They're a team that's like, it's kind of the antithesis of Florida, where Florida you're getting really, really good goaltending. Where Vegas is just like, this is a team sport.
You know what's funny though, right? Is that Edmonton, I think that they were going to run over them after Brossoit got injured there, and they brought in Aiden Hill, and Aiden Hill's been stellar. He's been great for them.
Yeah, but his history, he's been kind of because he was was he in San Jose for a bit?
Yeah.
Anyways, his play could be a little Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You know what I mean? Like he has that going on a little bit. But I don't know what to do with Edmonton. I don't know what because I was looking at it, I was like, that's a sneaky fucking team, which is stupid. It's a stupid thing to say because you're like McDavid,
Draisaitl, Matthias Alcohol.
What a hot take.
I think that Skinner kid is a good goaltender. But this is his first year. I think Edmonton actually got a pass. It's funny, Edmonton got a pass and Toronto got a pass because Toronto was like, oh, yay, you finally made it out of the first round. Way to go. But man,
and Toronto was second in the Atlantic, right behind the Bruins. So it's like, well, not right behind them, but behind them.
But Kyle Dubas is gone. Like, you saw that writing on the wall. It's like, I'm sorry, there was supposed to be more. And I was one of those people too, say, bring on Florida. What the hell's going on?
Yep. Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. Like Bobrovsky is just amazing, and that defensive core of Montour and Uyghur and
Brandon
Sam
Montour,
Reinhart out there in the
Mackenzie
center.
Uyghur.
It's insane. It's such a good team, Florida. You keep
and it was crazy. It was crazy how Florida built this team too, and they let pieces go where you're like, what are you doing, letting these guys go? Right, like
Huberdeau.
Huberdeau. Huberdeau is a guy that you build a team around. He's like he's not like a high level scorer or anything like that, but he's kind of like a Matt Duchene or a Ryan Johansson type, where he's going to be a leader in the locker room, leader on the ice, makes good decisions, smart, high IQ type guys, right? That's why I was liking Jonathan Huberdeau too, and he also had the production. He had fantastic production, and then Florida made that trade with Calgary where they got Mackenzie Uyghur. I hope I'm saying that boy's name right, Uyghur.
Yeah,
Uyghur.
Yeah.
And it was. You're like, what are you thinking, Florida? You're just trading chips away like that, and seems to have worked out. And I'll tell you, man, that Brandon Montour kid, he plays such a great game. I'm a fantasy hockey player, and I had him on my roster all year. He got me into the finals, which I lost. So there's been a lot of losing this spring. But you see a guy like Brandon Montour. Like if I see a guy on my team that's producing at a high level, I'll start watching their games. Right. And he looks like a guy that could have been like fighting Bob Probert in the 90s, early 90s, you know what I mean? And then scoring goals and assisting on plays, being an asset in the power play. Yeah, I think Florida is going to be a really tough, problematic team for a good 5 years if they can maintain some level of this core going.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Paul Maurice, I think, like you said, has been the key for that. We keep forgetting that they were the President's Cup trophy winners last year. So,
yeah.
And Matthew Tkachuk is a great player. So
Matt Tkachuk is the man. Yeah.
Yeah. I think,
and his brother is awesome too, but he's in Ottawa.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of Ottawa, I mean, did you hear all the players trying to buy that team? It's crazy.
Yeah. I don't blame him.
I think Snoop Dogg was in there at one point. I don't know if he still is. You got Deadpool in there.
Ryan Reynolds, yeah.
Ryan Reynolds, yeah. You know, I think it'd be great whoever ends up getting this here.
Look at what Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney were able to do with Wrexham there.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was saying. It's like, who knows what could happen there with Ottawa? It's crazy, absolutely insane.
Yeah, Deadpool's killing it. He's in Booze. He's got Aviator Gin with Hugh Jackman. He's in telecommunications with Mint Mobile.
I think he just sold Mint Mobile, if I'm not mistaken, and he made a huge profit.
Still in the game, he knows what he's doing clearly.
Yeah. You know, like it's something else to see somebody like that with some sort of like almost like a CEO mentality. You know, it's like that's the way to do things.
I bet there's a lot of teams that are looking at Ryan Reynolds like, come to Detroit, figure this shit out for us. Buy all the teams, buy them all. Like, we need help so bad. Buy Ford and bring him back. Bridgestone, something.
Yeah.
Firestone, whatever. Like, just we gotta figure this shit out. Ryan Reynolds is Mr. Fix-It for decrepit cities.
I'm telling you.
Their awful sports legacies.
You know what? You know what surprised me this season is Seattle Kraken tickets. They're
expensive.
Like second highest in the league.
That's not a surprise at all.
Right? It's like
it's not a function of the hockey team. It's a function of, look at how fucking expensive Seattle is.
Yeah.
And talk about what a shithole. Good God. I don't want to go back to Seattle. All I see on the news and social media is just like, oh God.
It's not that far from the truth either. I remember going to see a Seahawks game and I'm walking around like, this is worse than Toronto.
This week on The Walking Dead, just fuck. The hell is that? Yeah, because when I was out there, it was like, you'd run into your tweakers, you know, occasionally. So you go into an AM PM, you come out, there's some guy, ass plumber's crack, leaned over your driver's seat, stealing everything in your car. He's like, there you little scamp. But now it's just like, I'm gonna go steal everything in a store and get away with it because there's no larceny laws anymore. That's why it's so expensive. Seattle stinks, unfortunately. I love that city. It fucking stinks right now, though. I love Toronto. Toronto stinks.
Yeah.
New York City stinks. Boston stinks. Boston stinks. It's a stinky, shitty city. Our cities need to fucking unfuck themselves immediately.
You know, I was feeling that,
but I do feel for you, because one of the exciting things for me about you going back there was like, oh, and there's an NHL team there now, right? Like, so Sean's gonna have a fucking blast, and to hear that the tickets are expensive, fuck, like,
yeah, it's actually cheaper to go to Vancouver and watch a game.
I bet, yeah,
like, you know, so I'm probably gonna do that. Ottawa was probably the cheapest I've ever seen tickets at, though. Yeah.
I bet.
I don't know if you've ever been to Canadian Tire Center at all, but it's in the middle of nowhere. Like,
nope.
That's
how it should be, though. You're not supposed to be putting arenas in the middle of your metropolises. It's insane.
I loved it. I loved it in Toronto. You're just able to walk down there.
Put it 30 minutes. Like, the Maple Leafs should play in London. Shouldn't be in Toronto. That's insane.
Dude, that's the best part. You just walk right there. It's like it's happening now.
That.
Yeah.
No, because you put it somewhere else out, and then you're able to build businesses around that.
I don't know, man. I mean, yeah, I know they were talking about doing it with the Jays and everything, but man, baseball started. What are you thought so far? What you thought? I know it's June, it's early, but
that's my thoughts every year. You ask me every year this time of year.
I don't is rocking it.
Not paying attention. Not even looking at it.
AL
And
East.
I've watched a disgusting amount of baseball for a guy who has 2 kids. I really have. I don't even know what the fuck's going on. I'm not paying attention to any of the names, nothing. Not paying attention to shit.
What about the rule changes?
Don't care. I don't even know what you're talking about. After the 4th of July, I start getting insane about baseball. I have this is the calm before the storm is what you're looking at right now. After the 4th of July, I turn into a fucking maniac with baseball.
It's
really do.
Probably not a bad thing too, because I haven't really been following too tough because it is the beginning of the season. But all those games count, and I'm just looking at the AL East, and it's like, wow, it's a juggernaut. Everybody's competing over there.
So, like, my favorite thing about baseball, and this has been the same thing for the last 3 years or so, is Shohei Ohtani. Like,
oh, dude,
what a gift to the sport of baseball. What a gift. Just seeing him like leading Ks or up there, top 3 in Ks, up there on fucking hits, like
home runs, RBIs,
slugging, on base. It's like whatever the hell it is, like the guy's just crushing it. Like that's like he's my favorite thing about baseball these days.
Oh yeah. I don't even know how the Angels are gonna be able to keep him because he's that much of a talent, it's like
where's he gonna go? The Yankees?
Yeah.
How many times have we seen that movie?
Yeah, I know.
How
to ruin a career? Enter here.
Yeah. I love him right now. I used to love A-Rod when I was a kid, and then he went to the fucking Yankees, and it wasn't because he went to the Yankees. It's because he turned into a massive piece of shit. The Yankees. You were just like
the Yankee way.
Oh fuck!
It's the Yankee way.
Yeah, everyone's just like, "Oh, you're from Boston. You hate the Yankees." I'm like, I do. But it has nothing to do with just the city, the proximity or any of the history. It's just guys go there and they stink. Except CC Sabathia was the only guy that I was able to who went there who I continued to love.
You can stomach him?
I loved him. I loved him. He's like, I lost 120 pounds. I just stopped eating Captain Crunch. I'm like, that's insane. You're eating that much Captain Crunch to where you just stopped eating. You lost 120 pounds, CC, because they decided to pay $160 million. That's like. That's the best. And again, there's a lot of guys that were organic, Yankees that I loved. I love Jared. I still love Derek Jeter to this day. And even though he's like some big time sports exec now, still love him to death. I loved many. I loved Jorge Posada. Was another one of my absolute favorites of all time. I love Mo, Mariano Rivera. Everyone else can suck a dick.
All right. So back to my thought. This is my thought here. Have you seen Big Nick Turturro's Twitter at all?
No.
Turturro, the actor.
Nick Turturro.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is Nick Turturro? What did he act in?
So he's been in like little bits as mobster movies and stuff like that, right? You see his face, you'll know exactly who he is.
Oh, yeah.
So this guy is the biggest Yankees fan. And I started following him because it's just like, man, he will just take liberties on his own Yankees, just like how garbage they are. How could you lose that game against the Jays? I mean, but it's funny because it's just like, I'm not even sometimes I'm hard on the Jays, but I'm not like that. Like that is like some hardcore stuff. You should listen to some of his stuff there, Nick Turturro. But still,
that's how sports fandom is supposed to work, right? There's that quote, that Marky Mark quote from The Departed. I think we should treat politicians like mushrooms, feed them shit and keep them in the dark. Right? You're supposed to despise your government. You're supposed to despise your sports team. But if anything goes down, you go to war for them, right? Like here's the arrangement. I'll die for you, but I'm gonna shit on you the entire time, right? Because you're my shit. You're a piece of shit, but you're my piece of shit, right? And I just hate everyone else's piece of shit a little bit more than mine. You're supposed to hate your fucking team. You're not supposed to just blindly love something and with all its faults, and especially with the Yankees, like where you're talking about an organization that the problems are limitless. The list of grievances is excessive, right? Steinbrenner completely screwed baseball for like 150 fucking years. And his legacy, I could smell his corpse every time I throw in a ball game. I could be watching the fucking Cardinals versus the Marlins, and it just stinks like dead Steinbrenner. because he just left a terrible legacy on the entire league. And that's what you should do. So Nick Turturro, he's doing it right.
He's your boy. He's your boy. Man.
Yeah, again, a lifelong Boston sports fan. I'm not one of those guys where I'm like, oh, I'm going to go like this team over there. Sean Valancourt.
What? What are you saying? What are you?
Nothing.
That's nothing. That's nothing. What are you talking about, man?
You're supposed to wherever you're from, that's the team you like. That's it. I give you a pass on Buffalo and Cleveland.
Well, Buffalo, you have to give me a pass. Cleveland is because I got married, okay? And so, like, come on now.
Did you take her last name too? Was it Sean Church?
No. No.
Yeah, it's like you should love your team, but part of love is hate. You gotta have a healthy dose of hate.
There's some hate. I think so. There's some hate.
Yeah. You speak too glowingly of your Maple Leafs all the time. It bothers me.
I know.
You don't have any problems with your team.
Oh no,
you should have a shit ton of problems.
I literally was just like I went into it with no expectations because it was just like this is what we have. You know what I mean? It's like this is what we have.
Yeah, every year you fall for it though. You're like, oh well, they're number 2 in the Atlantic. It's looking pretty good for us there. I think this.
I know.
It's like when was the last one? 72. 72.
67.
Yeah, like it might have been 71 or 72, but
no, 67, man. It was 67 was the last one for the Leafs. Yeah.
Was it really? Jesus Christ. It's even worse than I thought.
It's pretty bad. It's
Oh my God. Yeah, 67. My dad was 27 the last time. My dad, who's by the way 80.
Your dad, sorry?
My dad was 27 the last time the Maple Leafs won a cup.
What?
He's turning 83 this year.
What the? You're kidding
me. You guys should be beheading Leafs execs on television in Canada. You guys should just be like, should bring back the guillotine. Did you guys ever use the guillotine up there? Like, I don't even know.
No, that's a very French thing, not French Canadian. Yeah.
So all the guys that didn't like the guillotine in Canada, they're like, oh, that's a little morbid. Oh, jeez. He said he was sorry. What are we going to cut his freaking head off for?
Oh my gosh, man! I forgot how much Americans like to impersonate our sorries. It's like. I forgot about that until I came here, and I was like, "Oh, sorry." I'm like,
"Pardon, sorry." Especially a guy your size, with the lack of coordination you have for a man your size, you're literally a bull in a china shop everywhere you go. You could be in a fucking brick store, and somehow you're bumping into stuff, cracking.
I feel so out of place when I'm in a place, okay? Because like I'm not right. I'm like 268 pounds. I'm standing there. My wife will find the most conspicuous place to stand. She can me up, and I'm the one standing there. And people got to go to the bathroom to get around me, right? And I make the oddball comment though every time we go. Oh, I'm a better door than a window, huh?
How many times have you heard that one in your life?
Yeah,
because I think you're supposed to be on a fucking island somewhere wearing a sarong. and just like fucking like out playing with fire and shit. Like, you're not supposed to be in a city. That's crazy. You gotta move. You're country boy. You should move to fucking Texas. That should be your next move.
That's my place, eh?
Yeah, get like 100 acres, and then you won't have to bump into anything ever again.
Probably not.
I'll go in halfsies with you so I can just go vacationing down there and just shoot wild boar. And then the rest of the time you can just hang around with those pigs. Those are your people. Wild Texas invasive wild boar. Be another invasive species in Texas. I think it'd be cool as hell.
Dude.
Although you're Canadian, so you'd be there with the boars, and you guys were eating, I don't know, roadkill or whatever you eat. And you just be, oh, pardon, sorry. Oh, pardon. I think it'd be pretty good for you. So what I want to talk about most is the stand-up.
Hey,
I again, all right, listeners, I have no backstory on this whatsoever. I had no idea this was happening. I'm very rarely on Facebook these days. I crack open Facebook a couple of months ago, and I see Sean standing on a stage wearing a shirt not unlike that one, and I was like, "What the fuck is he doing?"
I didn't think that was bad. That was actually a good one. I did bomb the very next week after that. I went on there and just
No, yeah, I didn't think any of it was bad. I think that is like, I know you have aspirations of broadcasting and stuff like that, which I think that's also well in your wheelhouse. But I think the comedy thing on the side too would be so fucking funny for you. And just because, especially here in America, like I'm a big comedy fan. We love God damn it, what's the name of the comedian that plays Squirrely Dan from Letterkenny?
yes. Oh,
Yeah, he's a stand-up comedian. He's fucking hilarious.
I can't think
But
of his name right now. I know who you're talking about though. Yeah.
I think he's like an F something, blah blah blah. Like I think he's got one of those names, like first initial, middle name, last
Right.
name. But that aesthetic of like just like a big, not a bad bone in his body Canadian fella, just like, whoa, so I'm trying to interact in the real world. It reminds me of Phil Hartman, cave-in lawyer on SNL, where you're just like, how does this guy interact? You could just tell me about your day, like trying to buy socks. I'd be like, yeah, how does Sean buy socks? Where do they come from? How much material goes into those socks? How often does he have to buy new underwear? I'm writing material for you right now, Sean.
You are.
Dude. How many fucking kids had to get together on their hands and knees to sew that shirt? That's what I want to know.
That's a legit question. We should find out.
You're bigger than me by a lot.
Yeah.
I can buy my stuff barely off the rack. So where the hell are you going?
This is like a 2XL too. It's like, yeah.
You're not swimming in it. It looks like you should probably be a 3XL. So what prompted the comedy thing? Like what was
I just
something you always wanted to do?
Oh, I tried it once before when I was 24. And
okay, so back in the 70s?
Yeah, back in the 70s. I bombed so horribly. There was one joke that went over, that was it. And so, but like recently I just wanted to try it again and see if some of the stuff was funny. And some of it is, I think, really funny, but some of it is just, man, it's a lot to do comedy. There's no questions about it. Just even getting up, you're intimidated sometimes. Are people going to think I'm funny? I'm not. And then let's just say you got somebody that's just yapping in the front.
Oh yeah,
that's what happened to me. And my timing went, like, I couldn't even think of my timing, and it was just like the spiral was bad. It was so bad.
Did you have the urge to start doing crowd work when that happens? Because like I know it's like doing open mic type shit.
Yeah,
you're supposed to just get 5 and then get the hell out of the way.
Yeah,
but like this is why I don't do comedy, because I'd be at that open mic night, and then I'd have my tight 5, and I'd see somebody in the front row start having a conversation, be like, "What's this bitch up to? What the fuck are you talking about? That's so goddamn important. I'm up here bearing myself to you people." Like I would it would turn into me just being mean to some lady.
It was this close to me just like telling off a couple of dudes, and I'm like, man, these guys are just here on a Saturday night trying to get a beer in. They're like, well, whatever this guy is up to, let him get up there and do his set, I guess.
So was it a comedy open mic night, or was it like
it was an open like yeah.
So somebody went up with a guitar, somebody did some slam poetry.
It's nice. Like people could talk during that, because just like they could talk during a song. But like, you're trying to do your set, and it's like, here's homeboy just like rah 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 rah, and his voice is mine, and I'm just like he sounds like my thoughts, and it was just like, it was so bad. It was so bad. But the thing
the other thing is though, is like I know you played in bands and stuff like that back in the day, which is, again, for people that don't understand, Sean's old as shit. So like you're talking like, when Chris Cornell was coming up, Sean was like the old head in the room already. He's just like, oh, I'll show this young buck how it works. That kind of shit. Outlived Chris Cornell. This guy right here, believe it or not. And so like that's a rowdy crowd. You know what I mean? Back in the scene you were in, I saw you with your metal ball bearing necklace.
You saw that one.
You guys weren't playing folk music. Let's just put it that way, right? Dealing with that kind of shit on a stage situation. Is this scarier than that?
Way. Oh yeah, because at least you have four other guys or three other guys with you,
That's
right?
true. Yeah.
So you are hiding with other guys. Like, you can hide behind the instrument. This is like, there's nothing. There's nothing. And
All right. So what's scarier, this or wrestling?
comedy still, yeah, because at least with some other guy, you got to trust them and everything. But I tell you what, when I did comedy, and I'm gonna go back and do it again because
You
it's
should not stop doing it. You
yeah,
should not stop doing it. That's one of those things I see you doing that, and I'm just like, this is why I always look at you like a bigger brother, because it's like I look up to you in so many ways, not just literally, but like you're just like, oh, I'm just gonna go do this thing, whatever. And then I see you do it, you're just like, fuck it, fuck. And then every time you do it, though, you just get better and better. So even with this thing,
yeah.
with the podcasting, like you just keep growing and growing and growing. And you're like 65 years old. It's amazing to see. So don't stop doing it, because like, I'm laughing the entire time just because I know you so well.
Right,
And like
right.
it's just so wild to see and stuff like that. But it's also, I think you belong in a place like that where you're like
It's hard. It's hard because it's like I'm trying to be a clean comic, right? And
yeah.
it's one of those things that I ended up looking at when I'm taking some joke writing lessons. Even the hard consonants. That's how you get your laugh. Is usually your punchlines will have a hard consonant in there. But what else has hard consonants? It's swear words, right? So it's just like,
Oh yeah.
it's
My
it's it's
favorite words.
it's one of those things. But like, the other thing too is like I'm learning how to understand my crowd, the mic work, just basically, and then I have to start learning how to interact with the crowd. But knowing your crowd, so here I am in Blue Washington, and I have a great joke. Reid, do you want to hear it? Do you want to hear this joke? Because I think it's
If you want to burn it on the podcast, let's hear
yeah,
it.
it's a beaut. It's like, hey man, I love Americans. Whenever I come to America, I find that friendly is so amazing that I've got a green card. I want to live here. Um, I think America's got a bad rap though. When you think about other nations, let's just take Canada for instance. Like Canada, you got people that are there, and what do people think about Canadians? They drink maple syrup and they eat poutine. So they are a bunch of fatso type 2 diabetics, and let's face it, who doesn't love a diabetic? Like who? That's why. I mean, let's face it, you want peace, you're going to look at a diabetic. When you look at America, I think most people think about America is that they have pickup trucks, guns, and the bomb, you know? So people are there and they're thinking that they're driving around in an F-150 with a bunch of guns and a nuclear bomb right in the back of it as well, I think the reason that Americans are so friendly is because they can they can carry guns, right? And this is why they're so friendly, is because if you meet somebody you don't like, you could just shoot them.
Yeah.
I got booed for that one, man. I got booed. It's like,
well, yeah. I mean, like we got kids dying in schools, No, I mean, like that's like any that's the fun thing about, that's why comedy is a sport, and that's why I think it's fair to talk about on this podcast, especially is it has become a sport most recently, even at a higher level, right? Where you're playing this game where there's people that pay money to or they voluntarily walk into a place where they know this is going to happen. And like there's big time comedians, like the club comics and theater comics who deal with these people that show up to the show, $20, $30 tickets, right? They show up to a show and then they get upset at what they see. And it's just like, that's the insane game we're playing right now with comedy, is like, you're volunteer. You had to go out of your way to go to this fucking place and hear this person say this wild shit, right? Like, and you're going to get mad about it. Like, you don't have to like it. Like, I hear a joke like that, I'm just like, yeah, America does have a bit of a bad rap, right? Like, yeah, we do have a weird image problem. But it's funny to sit there and say, like, oh yeah, that's, and you're also invoking the imagery of the whole an armed society is a polite society, right? Like, you're not going to pop off if you think the guy might have a gun and might shoot you.
Yeah.
Like, there's layers to that. But And that's honestly a joke that upsets people like that is probably a good joke. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's like that's my favorite thing about comedy is I'm confronted with shit that I don't necessarily feel comfortable thinking about or talking about. Right?
Yeah.
That's what a good comic does, and they like. And the clean thing, some of my favorite comedians are clean. Pete Holmes, Nate Bargatze are two of that come to mind all the time. Where I'll sit down and I'll watch, like a Big J Okerson who just came up with a new special on YouTube called Dog Belly. Phenomenal, the dirtiest son of a bitch on the planet, right?
Right.
Jim Norton, same deal, dirtiest son of a bitch on the planet. And then I can watch a Nate Bargatze special and laugh the same. And I couldn't tell you, I didn't realize Nate Bargatze was a clean comic until like a year ago when I heard him on his podcast talking about it. Like, it was just like, oh yeah, he doesn't say swear words. He doesn't talk about, sex and vaginas and stuff like that. I just was like, yeah, look at this dumb guy from Tennessee up here trying to interact in the world and being bad at it. That was funny. It's funny. It doesn't matter how you put it or what you say, so
that's like, I mean, like Seinfeld has like always been one of my heroes because
the best.
Yeah. Like his stand-up, and then you watch his show, and it's like, man, it's still funny.
You had to watch his stand-up in his show.
Yeah.
They would start with him doing a bit, and then it would end with him doing another bit, and it had to be relevant. This is how much this guy was writing. They had 9 seasons, 20 episodes a season. I still watch that. I watch it with my daughter, and she laughs at it. She's 4. You know what I mean? Like, he's funny, and it doesn't matter how you say or what the words are. It's how you mix it all and throw it all together.
So the funny thing with this comedy stuff is that my wife gets embarrassed for me, though, and she's embarrassed. She's embarrassed. She's embarrassed. I'm going up there to do it. Like, what?
Dude, you're the kid in Stand By Me who's doing the train dodge, right? Where he's like, I'm going to stand in front of this train until the very last second. I'm going to get out of the way. It's like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Everything's going good. You don't have to do this. Why are you doing this to yourself? Do you have any idea? Like, if you look at the occupational risk associated with a job like that, right? Dave Chappelle got tackled by a crazy person.
Right.
Chris Rock got slapped at the fucking Academy Awards by Will Smith. One of America's dads now. You know what I mean? Like, the occupational risk associated with a gig like that. She's your wife. She wants you to live a long time. Sorry. Obviously, she's going to be sitting there like, what the fuck is he thinking? But that's what separates men from women, right? That's what separates men from women. We're going to do the dumb shit. No matter, like, I don't have to go in that hole. There's no reason to go in the hole. I'm going to go in the hole anyways. It might be something cool. It's like, no, it's a hole in the middle of nowhere. It's like, yeah, I'm going to go check it out, though, either way. The next thing you know, Reid's buried in sand at the beach. They're like, what a dumbass. This happens all the time.
I couldn't believe it, though. Like, there's a guy that was in the audience that was there to watch. It was like one of the Canadians, and he turned to her and actually coined a phrase for it called secondary embarrassment. And I was like,
yeah, but you got to understand what Joe though. That is the only place that happens.
Yeah,
it's probably you in a grocery store too. You're like, oh, look at these cantaloupes. Oh, what are they doing with these cantaloupes these days? Oh, I've had secondary embarrassment with you. You in Okinawa, for fuck's sakes. It was like we go into a ramen, or in Japan, and go into a ramen house. The room's this big, and you have to sit on the floor on a table. You have to sit crisscross applesauce. There's no way your legs are getting under there. And the entire time, there's like 9 of us stuffed into this little room in this ramen house, this little table, and you're just like, boys, what a great day we're having here. It's like, you look uncomfortable, Sean. You look uncomfortable as shit. Stop saying everything's great right now. It's insane. And then you proceeded to eat that ramen house out of house and home.
Boy!
We've all been secondarily embarrassed. It is what it is. But that's why you're one of the best, because I'm gonna go fucking be you throw a tank top in the Philippines on, you just walk around like, hey.
Dude, that was still one of my favorite things when we saw that one Russian dude and he was wearing the shorts and everything, and then I was doing the exact same thing, and then you guys were just laughing like, "Wait, are you part Russian? Like, what the heck? What's out here? What's going on?"
Yeah, there's a certain energy that you and Russian drug dealers have. I don't know what it is. It's not entirely confidence, because you guys are self-aware, but you're just like you're faced with confidence, and then your natural thing is like, I'm terrified. Let me throw in this Hawaiian shirt, so everyone's looking at me now. It's enviable, it's admirable, it's endearing, and I love you for it. So yeah, I just don't stop doing the comedy thing. Like that honestly is like when I have friends who've done it around here, and they're like, it was either go to therapy or do this, and it's like they have no dreams of being a stand-up comedian. They make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year working in tech, right?
Yeah.
They just do it because it's their therapy.
Yeah.
It's like they get on stage and they just make people laugh, and they get that. Their dads, nobody's paying it. No one gives a shit about them. You know, they're not trans, they're not, gay, they're not black, maybe, like maybe they're just regular guys that no one gives a shit about. And they get to go on stage and either get some admiration and love and some claps, or people boo them and they're like, oh, I'm gonna come back next week and make them laugh so fucking hard, you fucks. It's nice to have a hobby, and it's nice to do things hard.
Yeah,
that are hard.
And this is what this is right now as a hobby. I mean, I can't sit there and go, I'm going for it all the way, boys, because it's just like there's years of stuff to master,
Yeah. But it's important. Neil deGrasse Tyson has the best wrestling quote of all time, including, you're talking about Dan Gable, Brandon Slay, like all the guys that had all the great quotes in the sport of wrestling. Neil deGrasse Tyson had one of the best ones, and it was, we wrestle because it's hard. And stand-up comedians say the same thing, but it's the hardest thing I've ever done. You're talking about guys who are Navy SEALs who, went to West Point, all these guys, and they get into comedy like, this is the toughest thing I've ever done. That's what I consistently hear over and over again.
Oh, no.
It's the toughest thing I've ever done.
It is, because you are literally burying yourself up there. But, man.
Yeah. There's no one to hide from.
There isn't. It's like, fail or succeed, it's on you.
And at the very least, Sean, you only got a couple of good years left in you, right? So it's good if you just get some material out there, keep putting it online, because then when you're worm food, I'm going to be able to get my fill of Sean Valancourt for the rest of my life. For the next 40 years, I'm going to have to live without you.
Oh my gosh! Oh my goodness! Man, we went right off. We went right off subject, but I actually enjoyed this conversation. Oh my God.
Comedy's a sport. I don't give a shit what anyone says. If video games are a sport, if fucking women's soccer is a sport, then comedy is a sport.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. It's tough. It is a tough thing, and I enjoy doing it. I don't know. It's like, just if I can make somebody laugh, and it came from my mind, it's like, that's cool, and that's why I'm envious sometimes that you read, because like it's like naturally, this is a natural gift you have. Where I got to contemplate and write. It's like
I would never go on stage and say the things that I say to you. No, I value my safety too much these days. You think I say mean things to you? Wait till a stranger looks at me the wrong way. I'm just like, what the fuck is your problem? All right, so back to the sports. What do you think of the UFC these days? What do you think of?
You read my mind.
Obviously.
Yeah. It's exactly where I wanted to go.
The state of things, John Jones, because we haven't talked in a long time about this stuff. A lot to unpack. John Jones, come back. Cyril Gane, heavyweight.
Shouldn't have been Cyril Gane in the first place. Shouldn't have been. But
it's insane. Who else, though? Who else?
I don't know. I mean,
who would have done better than Cyril Gane did?
And Ghana knew, like, I'm not fighting this guy.
He was out of the UFC. He ran.
Yeah. He ran.
And you know what, though? I will say this. I'm glad you brought up Ngannou, because he did a good thing. He went to fucking PFL. We saw the conversation, the contract negotiations just breaking down live, right? Like we saw the president of the PFL sit there and say, like, yeah, this is going to happen. We saw Ngannou say this is going to happen. And then out of nowhere, it came back and they were like, yeah, we made a deal. And Ngannou then was like, I wanted to make sure everybody that fought me was a millionaire after they fought me. Like, that's huge, because this is a guy, everyone talks shit on the UFC where it's like, oh, they don't pay the fighters enough, but they'll go somewhere else, make a shit ton of money, and watch a bunch of guys getting paid even less than the UFC average. Yeah. They're full of shit. Ngannou put his money where his mouth was.
Yeah. I mean, but I'll say this. Like,
he should have stayed to fight John Jones.
I think that so he did a great thing there. But I also think that, he had to do that, because if it didn't work out that way, it just looks like he's dodging. Now he's got something to like dodge around from his dodge, if that makes any sense. Because it's like, I mean, good for him. He's going to get other people paid. I'm happy for that. But the thing is that finished us off. Everybody wanted to see that fight, and you robbed everybody of that fight. Like, you robbed everybody of that fight.
You know, that's not only that, but it's also Stipe. Now, Stipe is like an interesting one because Stipe is this sleeping giant.
I've been waiting for this fight coming up next month. I have been waiting patiently.
So you sit there and you look at this situation where Ngannou loses to Stipe, comes back, knocks Stipe out, right?
But Stipe doesn't even get a rematch. It's like, whatever, Stipe.
Stipe is one of the most tricky things of all time. He's probably still the greatest heavyweight of all time in the UFC. Right? With how long he held under the title, how he won, all that other shit, right? He's probably still the greatest heavyweight of all time in the UFC.
Yeah.
He gets zero respect for it. I don't know what it is. And you'll see the UFC go to bat for Sugar Sean O'Malley, which I don't understand. It's like I feel like he's gonna call me the N-word when I leave 7-Eleven. I don't give him a buck. You know, hey buddy, you got $1? No, fuck you. And it's like, whoa, right? That's the energy he brings. I'm like, it's not endearing. It's not fun. I get the McGregor thing. McGregor has an entire fucking country behind him. What does Sugar Sean have behind him? Ohio?
Nah, he's got
like Snoop, 7-Elevens outside of
that one commentary from Snoop and the love of the owner. I mean, that's really it, because
how do you not do that for Stipe though? Guy's a volunteer firefighter still to this day. Like,
the UFC
what's not to love?
The thing is that he's not entertaining because he's a good guy. You know, George St. Pierre was hard to promote. What's his face? Captain America. He was hard to promote. The was champion. You know, so I mean, it doesn't make any sense when you think about just the pure numbers about it. But the thing is that I think the UFC likes their bad boy reputation. That's why Conor McGregor has just been. I mean, even now he gets a main event against another aging superstar there, and it's like, and it's like, really, like, I'm going to spend money on that, and more than likely I probably will, because it is Conor McGregor.
It's Mystic Max still to this day, because again, like, even the fight he lost against fucking Khabib, Conor was winning that fight up to a point where he lost it. He was winning the fight for a piece, and again, that was Khabib's game to that one. But like Conor McGregor, it's one of the most anxiety riddled things is I want to see him lose, and every time I watch him fight, he could end the fight at any moment. So he has that, and he also has the WWE persona that nobody in WWE has been able to replicate somehow. They've never had like Hollywood Hogan level hatred. Yeah. Right. And also the Hulkamania love. Yeah. How do you have that at the same exact time captured in a bottle like that? Only Conor McGregor has been able to do that. Or even
the current champion right now, John Jones. I mean, same for John Jones. You know, you could.
I don't think anyone's loving John Jones the way they love Conor McGregor. Yeah, Conor McGregor's got that. Who's that guy that the Instagrammer there? Andrew Tate. Tate. Have you ever heard about him? Like, he's got this weird following where you're like, who are these people? Where are they? And they're like, oh, they're everywhere. They're at your church. They're at your schools. They're on the bus with you. They're like, you don't realize it, but if you see a guy that's wearing some Tom Ford and has like a Rolex on, you're like, that might be an Andrew Tate guy. Same thing with Conor McGregor. You'd just be walking around and like, does that guy have a neck tattoo under that shirt? What the fuck is going on there? And he hits you with a corny one line. You're like, God damn it, Conor McGregor's everywhere. McGregor mania is real, and how that hasn't died still to this day. I can't even remember the last time he fought. Honestly, he goes that long. And
it's like, you know, I think it was Diamond Dustin.
Dustin Diamond Poirier.
I think that was his last fight. So I mean,
that's insane.
And honestly, it's like, I mean, you know, so this is another payday. But honestly, the only thing I'm really looking forward to is that John Jones, Stipe Miocic, because John Jones called out Miocic as well. Because John Jones is a student of the game. And John Jones knows that if he wants to be the greatest, he's got to fight the greatest. And so
John Jones is the smartest guy in the room at the UFC right now, because He could have called out anybody
Yeah.
in 3 different weight classes.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted. John Jones, if he wanted to, could go down to 185.
Easily.
Could fight at light heavyweight, obviously, or did it for a very long time. Could fight a heavyweight, obviously. Went in and knocked out a fucking the guy, right, who is still in the fucking thing. And then he's like, I'm going to fight Stipe Miocic, the greatest heavyweight champion of all time. Which also, by the way, is a huge thing for Stipe Miocic. Stipe Miocic is now getting a gigantic fucking payday.
Absolutely.
And is now being thrown back in the ether after a huge layoff now as well.
And you're going to tell me that that's a guy that's not there, like he's not.
Everyone wants to act like he's a crazy cokehead. It's like, no, that's a very smart dude.
Yeah.
That is a very smart dude. It's undeniable.
And you think Stipe is just sitting there like he's cowering? Like, I don't see Stipe as a cower. I think Stipe is getting ready for this fight. And
he's Croatian and he's from Ohio. That is the most dangerous mix on the fucking planet. You're talking about 2 hurricanes of insane that just fuck. That's insane.
Like
it's crazy.
I'm looking forward to it because it is going to be explosive. That's going to be a fight, and it's like, you know, like
we're 23 years into this. We're 23 years into this century. That's going to be the fight of the century.
Yeah, like we're going to be talking about, like, these guys both have the power to put each other to sleep. So it's like, what kind of Stipe are we going to see? Are we going to see that lean Stipe that went in against Ngannou, or are we going to see a big hulking Stipe? You know,
hopefully it's a lean Stipe, because John Jones is like, you have to have the attrition. You have to
the wrestling alone, dude. I mean, forget about just all of his limbs and everything. The wrestling alone, and you get down on the ground with this guy, he could finish you so many different ways.
Yeah. Look at his pedigree. Look at all of his brothers are in the NFL.
yeah, they're all Super Bowl champs. It's insane. No. I'm looking forward to that. I think the state of the UFC overall, when you have to push a Sean O'Malley and stuff like that, I'm glad to see that they still have a crown jewel somewhere in there.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, man, I honestly, like, if it's not for that, I think I wouldn't be paying so much attention, because Sean O'Malley pissed me off so much in that one fight there that they had, where I think it was against Petr Yan. Yeah, where he ended up, where he ended up like getting the decision, and I'm like, he lost his fight clearly the whole entire time through. He lost his fight, and now he's getting a title shot. It's like, this makes no sense.
And you did it to a fighter of Petr Yan's caliber, who was like, it's disgusting. So, all right, so we're cutting close on time here.
We are
Jake Paul and Nate Diaz. Who wins?
Nate Diaz, I hope.
No, but who wins? Not put your heart out of it.
All right,
take off that stupid shirt for 5 seconds.
Nate Diaz. I think he also has, like, because he has boxing pedigree, and the thing is that, quite honestly, he has more fighting time than Jake Paul. So yeah, Nate Diaz. I'll go.
So Nate Diaz is like, so the guys that are fighters that Jake Paul's fought were a little punchy, I would say. You know, especially what you saw with who is it? God, Tyron Woodley. He was a guy that was getting knocked out left and right over and over and over again. And he was an older cat, too. He was like an older cat. I still remember that Nate Marquardt knockout, which was like the first time you saw Tyron Woodley be human. You were like, God damn. Mm-hmm. And now I think fucking Jake Paul's unfortunately fighting a guy who's a motherfucker, who's just gas tank for days. Him and his brother run triathlons. They're vegan athletes. They're smoking weed. They're like, it's the biggest problem on the planet, and they're from one of the craziest places in the world, Stockton, California.
Yeah.
Jake Paul, you know, again, and he's a guy that I don't shit on in terms of boxing. Like, this guy does it for a living. He does it for a living. He trains for a living. Like, Jake Paul is a boxer. Yeah. There's none of this, oh, he's a YouTube guy. No, he's a boxer. Don't get that twisted at all. But Nate Diaz, he's got everything. He's got punching. He's got gas tank.
It's going to be a test. It's going to be a test, man. It's not an easy walk in the park. And I think, you know what? Kudos to Jake Paul. He's fighting a real person right now. So,
and again, Nate Diaz is pushing 40, right? He's not a spring chicken, but he's also not a guy that was getting knocked out.
No. You're looking at a good fight here. I think it's a good fight. Well, I think we're at this point. We're at this point where I would like to ask you a one-on-one question.
Sure.
All right. So we were discussing this before off camera, and so I'm going to
Yeah.
ask this right now.
Talking about male G strings,
Yes, squeaky cheese.
squeaky cheese,
Squeaky cheese.
Okay.
Only in Canada or U.S.?
No, it's ubiquitous in the United States of America. You have to go to certain places. There's certain pockets where you have it, and then those fucking weirdos decide to move up to places like Florida. I've had really good poutine in Ybor City, Florida, near Tampa Bay, like the little Cuban.
Wow.
Like there's a poutineery down there somewhere.
And the thing I keep forgetting about Lowell being so French Canadian as well.
French Canadian. Yeah, we have. I walk my dog by Valancourt Square every day. It's a 2-second walk from my house. Like that's how French Canadian this whole neighborhood is. We have Côtés Market. We have Saint Jean d'Arc down the street there. We have the Franco-American School, boys' school, which is Cockverd. We're in French Canada here. It is what it is. So it's maybe that's the perspective I'm speaking from. My partner Nicole, her last name's Bernier, right?
Bernier,
yeah. It's they say Bernier for whatever fucking reason, but you go to one of her family's gatherings, there's some like coked out Quebecois that show up. And you're just like, God damn, you guys are French. And they brought their cheese with them.
Yeah.
All the way down the Beaver Pelt Trail. This is where the Beaver Pelt Trail starts, brother.
Yeah, Americans have got to sit there and just think how blessed they are. Like these French Canadians have shared this treasure with you.
Oh, well, hold on a second. I feel more blessed to have the Cambodians across the street because they keep bringing me by spring rolls and fresh rolls every day. Like I'm a little more blessed with them. French Canadian beans, for example, are atrocious. So I'm more proud of our Southeast Asian heritage than our French heritage. But our French heritage is ubiquitous here. So we have our squeaky cheese. I've seen it around the country. And I think you can get it in a lot of places. We love it.
Perfect. All right, man. This is going to be it then. So thanks a lot again for coming on there, Reid. It's been a pleasure. We're going to have you come on a lot sooner than this, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Peace.
I still can't see your eyebrows.